everyone? Welcome to Inside Monster Jam, the official Monster Jam podcast. I'm Scott Jordan, and today we deep dive into the return of World Finals to Orlando. I'm excited to be joined in studio by Jayme Dalsing, Monster Jam's Global Director of Operations, Senior Global Director of Operations, and remotely from a skid steer in North Carolina, the 2022 World Finals Spin Master Racing Champion, Brandon Vinson. Gentlemen, welcome to Inside Monster Jam. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we're making some history today with the first official Monster Jam podcast. So, Jayme, I want to start with you. I know we had a 2-year hiatus of World Finals due to COVID. The live event business came to a screeching halt. We came back with the Stadium Championship Series, but no World Finals there. So when exactly did the planning process start to bring World Finals back to Orlando?
Man, it was always intended to come back to Orlando. As you know, we had a 2-year contract for Orlando to take World Finals there. So, it was always our intent to get back there eventually. We had to obviously take a hiatus. Everybody was obviously waiting. It was a big deal for us to get back to a World Finals. And after 2 long years, it felt right. It felt like the time. Doing 5, full series championships and actually having a culmination of World Finals at Orlando just, meant the world to us. So it was a long time coming, but, once we started planning it out, once everybody got back in the office, it was definitely the right thing to do.
So, Brandon, you had a taste of World Finals in the past, and you win a series championship. You're going to Orlando. So what were your thoughts knowing that now you finally have a chance to compete for a world championship?
And just blown away. Super excited to be back in the seat, driving Gravedigger, and to go back to Monster Jam World Finals after COVID and after everything that's went on. It was just a great feeling to be back at World Finals, to bring the fans back to World Finals and do something different there. And to do it on the 40th anniversary of Gravedigger, it was epic. And looking forward, to living those memories and having those memories of World Finals this past year with me and my family there. So it was a great time, and we had a ball and got a world championship out of it. So I gotta love it. So it was great.
Well, I think, obviously this is the first official Monster Jam podcast, so a small little, tidbit of history happening here today. But Brandon, I think you will go down in history as the first podcast guest ever in any form to be in a skid steer doing this. So you're going to have to explain to us exactly what you're doing and why you have your phone suction cupped to a skid steer to be a guest here today.
Look, I haven't done any shows in probably about a month. It's my time off. So when I'm home, I run my own business. I got a dirt work business. I've been grading yards, clearing lots, doing driveways, doing all sorts of stuff like that. Before I ever got into Monster Jam or Monster Trucks, I loved heavy equipment. I loved doing it, and that's what I did before. And I still do it to this day. All year long, I would fly out on Thursday, come to the events, do the shows. I'd catch a red eye on Sunday, land in Norfolk, where we fly out of Monday morning, and I would be back at work Monday morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, half a day Thursday, and fly out and go do shows. So I stay busy, and that's just what keeps me moving. So this is my second passion. Monster Jam is my first passion, being able to be behind the wheel of Gravedigger and then get to run heavy equipment when I'm off from doing that. So that's what I'm doing today, and just taking the time out to be on the podcast. And it feels good to make history doing the first ever Monster Jam podcast. I had to do it this way. I work hard, man. This is what I do, and hard work pays off. So I'm still out here working and grinding and making both happen.
Well, do you bring your world championship trophy with you when you do your other job? Does that stay in the yard of wherever you're at?
I strap it to my truck and pull it around with me everywhere. I don't do that, but I did get a license plate made for my truck. It says the champ has arrived. And I did a whole deal with everybody that was at World Finals on Snapchat and sent them that when I got it put on. So they loved it. They're hating on me a little bit for it, but it's all in fun.
Well, you've seen the way he drives. Would you ever let him, steer your yard at all? Do anything like that with that truck?
A skid steer? I know he does good work, so maybe.
So
I want to borrow Jamie's car. Jamie ought to let me borrow his car. Let me take it to lunch.
I would love to borrow Jamie's car. We've all seen that in the parking lot here. Jayme, let's talk about the event itself. I know obviously a lot of eyeballs towards the event, but we had to make the pit party, just as important to get the fans back in. So I think, being able to walk around and be a part of it. It was the most immersive pit party I've ever been to since I've been in Monster Jam for 6 years. So talk a little bit about the strategy for that to bring the fans back in and get them involved in that event.
Yeah, we have a great team that works on our pit parties. Monster Jam World Finals is like, it's the exception, right? It's where we get to blow everything out of the water. Everything that we imagine and dream of wanting to do at every single pit party, we're able to do there. So, it was a key point to say, we're back, we're at World Finals, let's blow this thing out. Doing the FMX competition out there, really bringing more to the RC World Finals was definitely huge for us. Integrating the drivers into the RC World Finals was a amazing thing for us to do. So definitely more to see there. Now going to Nashville next year, we definitely have some big plans in store. There's also a lot of stuff that we actually learned from doing World Finals that we're trying to do, at more pit parties too. That we've heard that loud and clear from our fans. And, when push comes to shove, we really want to give back to our fans and make sure we're listening to their needs. So a lot of what they've told us, at the World Finals and at other events, we're trying to do, at every single event, which is hard to do, but because you don't have the space and the budget gets blown out at World Finals, we do everything there, as you know. So it was great to give back there. It was definitely a great pit party up there on the.
So what makes Camping World Stadium in Orlando the perfect site to bring World Finals back? I know you said we had a 2-year deal, so we go from Vegas to Orlando. We'll talk about that a little bit later, the move. But Orlando, it's a family destination, right? So is that a reason behind moving it there?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything kind of came into play when we're talking about the next city we're going to. Orlando, when we went there, it's a destination place. We know families want to go there for either for Disney or Universal or whatever it might be. It's just the place to be. That stadium was really great for us too. The city was amazing in hosting us and having us there, and everything we were able to do in the city, and they made it possible. So that venue was great pit party atmosphere, great venue. There's no other place that would have let us put dirt up in their stands in the first year. It's a bummer they ended up building out that second level there. So it was great. The first year we were able to do it, and so with all that being said, Orlando was a great host for us.
Brandon, you had your whole family there for the weekend. How did your kids feel about spending a week away from North Carolina and at the home of Disney World?
They were super pumped. We didn't do Disney World, but we did a bunch of other things while we were there. But the great part about it was just the support from my family being there for the World Finals. As stressful as it is that whole week, just getting prepared to do, the event. Having them there was at ease, eased my mind a little bit, and we kind of just did our own thing, hung out, had a good time, and we stayed a week after and did a whole bunch of stuff, had a little vacation, but having your family there, supporting you every step of the way, and they've supported me through thick and thin. I've been doing this a long time, been on the road, traveling as a crew chief, now as a driver, and that support system from my family is perfect, man. They love me. They love what I do, and they're there to help me when things are good and things are bad. And it felt great for them to be there and to win the championship there in Orlando with them there was icing on the cake. To share that moment with them in the rain, they actually stayed in the stands in the lightning, and I got an awesome video that my wife put out or sent to me. She hasn't put it out yet. I'm gonna share it. It's just a different angle of the race. It's pretty epic video, and it's pretty cool. But to see their reactions, yelling, screaming, and cheering and stuff like that after I had won, really put in perspective to me how much they're behind me. Every step of this way, and really leading me to be a champion or to keep pushing and doing good, helping me live my dream with me. So it felt good to have them there. And, Monster Jam World Finals is, like you said, a family destination place, and was great to have it there. And we did so many fun things there with the fans, as well as, the pit parties full of stuff to do, the FMX, and then the bowling deal that we did before the event was an awesome experience for fans to come in and get to bowl with all the drivers, and it was a good kickback for us too. So Orlando was awesome, man, and I competed in it when we ran in the stands, and that was a epic moment. History was made there, and the over-under track was awesome too. So Orlando, it was top notch. all good things to say about Orlando, man. It was great.
Well, you brought up the track. Let's talk about the track design. So in 2019, you reinvented the wheel with that incredible ramp that came down into Camping World Stadium, and then this year we did the over/under track, which for me, I'm a guy was a Supercross fan as a kid. It looked like almost a modified Supercross track. All that was missing was the Joker lane, but the track was incredible. So what went into that design and the decision to make this over/under track? Because it was amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely goes back to Vegas. Vegas always had that iconic Thunder Alley, and that's one of the things that we were like, oh, man, we go to a new place. How are we going to top this? How are we going to top Thunder Alley? And that speed that you pick up going down Thunder Alley, a lot went into that. The fact that we were able to get to Orlando, one of the first walk-arounds that we did in Orlando. Obviously, we do a lot of Monster Jams there, but it's tough to go into a venue and kind of imagine World Finals. So once we actually set foot on ground after it was announced, we actually started thinking about, man, we could actually start up there. We could actually put trucks up there. How are we going to get them up there? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? We talked about craning trucks up there. We talked about doing a million things. So, going back to 2019 when we actually started in the stands, it was kind of this epic. Everything went into it. So then when we got news, World Finals goes, we do all that. We got news that they were actually putting in the second level, like, what do we do? So actually, my boss, Todd Gendro, had been talking about an over/under track for probably about 5-6 years. Ever since we started with Monster Jam, maybe 7 years ago. And I've always been like, man, I'd love to do it too, but it takes the right place, the right venue, the right timing, everything to go into it. So when we understood that the track in the stands was going away, that was kind of our first thought. Yeah. And you can't imagine the different track maps that we threw out there to try to get that thing to work right. We're not the first ones to ever do it, but we're the first ones to do it in a stadium in that setting. And it was really an iconic, really just took so much work to figure out the right angles, the right turns, to make the racing perfect, right? So you could do it over/under anywhere you wanted to, but to make the racing perfect with an over/under was really the task. And the team did an amazing job of figuring out, okay, we got to put the finish lines on the end zones. Mm-hmm. That was kind of an unheard of thing. Everybody wants the finish line in the middle. You can't do that with an over/under track. So everything that went into the loops that the drivers are going to have to make and making the lane straight enough, it was quite the task. And the team came up with a great concept and it worked out.
Well, how do you reinforce the over part? Because you have a 12,000-pound Monster Jam truck going 60, 65 miles an hour. How do you reinforce that so that that over part isn't going to come crushing down?
Yeah. Honestly, it was one of our biggest concerns is when you put a 12,000-pound truck over another 12,000-pound truck is making sure that it's all safe. Right. And we did a lot of tests. Actually, we tested this up in Monster Jam University with Tom. We had a few independents actually come in and help us out and test it out, and we had to get the right trajectory. One thing we wanted to do, which was really evident up front, we didn't want just a flat jump straight over the top. Right. We wanted to make it look hard. We wanted to get some air out of it. We wanted to make this epic, iconic, kind of finish line, or not finish line, but over/under look. And I think we figured it out. There's a lot of dirt in there.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine that we used to put up in the stands, all that dirt, all the dirt that Supercross used to use when they went there too. It was all used for that one singular jump. That story alone is amazing. The transformation that took place that night after World Finals racing, during the monsoon that we went through, to get it to freestyle, that's a whole nother story. Our senior director of Dirt Crew, Dan Allen, did an amazing job. His whole team worked tirelessly overnight to transition that thing. So that's a whole nother story for itself.
Well, we will get to the racing event here in a second, but Brandon, from a driver's standpoint, watching when we were calling qualifying live in the booth, and there was one point the track was a little muddy. There's one point that Caleb Blood and Soldier Fortune came up short on the over and nearly went down. So I'm sure that was a topic of conversation for the drivers. So what are you thinking as you see this rain pouring down and the mud just adding up? How are you going to attack that over part of that track?
You know what? The first thing was to make sure that, you could get around the turn. You wanted to make the turn perfect to get enough speed to come over. the big jump to make it. So my thought was to come into the turn, maybe go a little bit wide, and then get on the throttle. But when it's slick out there on a 66-inch BKT tire like that, you can't just stab the throttle because the tires blow off. You know what I mean? They'll just sit there and spin. So you kind of gradually get into it real slow, and then hit the gas. So I used that standpoint or that idea to get over the jump, and it worked out just from driving in the mud and doing that sort of thing. But it was challenging. You know what I mean? When it started raining and we were like, we don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? We seen Caleb come up short, and that's the last thing we all wanted to do was come up short, end in the middle, or into the wall or something. Especially when they're racing for a world title. So basically, when we seen her do it, we were like, all right, we got to get a little bit more speed and not do that. So it worked out, but I got to say the dirt crew, everybody involved had made that track workable, drivable. And I went and told them after racing, I was like, man, you guys did an incredible job. It was muddy. They were pulling mud off of the track with box blades, and we were looking at it like there's no way. It is going to be a mess. But they straightened the track up, and actually when I was up, I think I was fourth pair out or something like that. I was with Cynthia first round, and I caught the race before me, and the trucks were going pretty good. They were going pretty fast. So it came around. They did a good job working on the track to come around. So when I went out fourth round or whatever it was, first round, fourth pair, the track was decent. So it wasn't too slick. You know what I mean? The start lines were slick, but there was enough momentum to carry you over the jump. So it worked out. But I wouldn't have wanted to have been the first pair out. You know what I mean? Because it had to have been slick, probably the first two. So I'm glad I was a little bit further in the bracket. But man, hats off to the dirt guys. They did a great job getting that track around and making it, a great racing event until the last round there.
All right, well, let's talk about the racing event itself. So there were some precedents there in Orlando with rain. In 2019, we had a rain delay, but it was in freestyle, so a little different. So we get to racing, the track a little wet, a little muddy, but it was still a beautiful day at that point. And then the heavens opened up and just rained down like Thor, the God of Thunder, on Camping World Stadium. So I want to set it up a little bit. In the broadcast booth, Colt and I are calling this event, and as the rain starts coming in and the rain delay happens, Jayme is in the next booth over in the ops booth. So Jayme, on his phone, communicating with everybody, the stadium, I imagine, comes in, graciously enough to tell us, what's going on. But there was one time we didn't know anything that was going on. Nobody did. So talk a little bit about what was going on from the ops side for you when that rain started and how you were going to get through that event.
Yeah, when we got the news on the delay, it was like, well, this could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? So lightning delayed us, I want to say 30 to 45 minutes into the actual event. Yeah. Which actually gave us a break from the rain. The rain actually stopped and gave us a chance to clean everything up. So as that delay was going on and we were, counting down the minutes to be able to start again, we were like, okay, well, what are we going to do? The stunt that was supposed to go on at the end, that we knew we had to get in. We wanted to get that in. We wanted to make sure we ultimately gave more time for the track to dry out too. So all that was strategically thought about. Like if we run the stunt first, we can clean that off and still give time for the racing track to dry out. So ultimately we ended up doing the stunt. And then when it got to racing time, I think, who did we send out? Armando?
Yeah.
I want to say so, right? So we sent out
to do a test run. Yeah, right? It was, and Tony Oaks, I believe, was also in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we run two?
It was Armando, and Armando about messed up. Yeah, that crazy save. Yeah, it was a crazy save.
Yeah, and we were like, oh boy.
Yeah.
So we had a little more cleaning up to do, but we didn't want to run the first pair out and not have a truck, tested on it. So luckily Armando went out and everybody was able to see. Well, you got to give it everything to go. So after that went off, we figured we gotta go out and do this thing.
All right, so Brandon, you're going through the bracket here. You beat Cynthia Gauthier, you beat Adam Anderson, you get Corey Rummel, Tyler Menega, and then you got Ryan Anderson in the final. What are you being told on the radio, or are you kind of standing back off somewhere with Ryan or somebody else? What is your communication back there, knowing that it's raining, the track is going crazy, and you've got this matchup coming up that you need to win? So what was going on from your standpoint back there?
Yeah, from the first part of it, it was kind of it was crazy. You know what I mean? There's people were running in and out of the stadium, running rounds, and I actually lined up first round with Cynthia, and we had a glitch in the light. So I actually did a half a lap and had to come back to the line. Right? I don't think she ever left, so I was already in the zone, ready to go, and then I was like, oh man, what happened? So I actually go line back up first pair, or it was like fourth pair. I line back up and we go again. But it's like I was kind of upset about it because I was already in the zone ready to go, and it kind of threw me out. Felt like it threw me off my game. So line back up, win that round, and come back. And I got Blinky, Kevin Joseph's on my crew chief. So he's just telling me, asking if the truck's okay. Go back to the pits, check over the truck, make sure everything's good. And second round, I had Adam. So I was like, oh boy. And, that was the race that I was worried about. I knew if I could take him out second round, it would build my confidence and it would tell me that I was good enough to be out there on that track. You know what I mean? Because I already kind of knew who was down the line in the bracket. So line up with Adam and took off. And I think I won the race by like 0.800 of a second. It was super, super close, super crazy. And, but I was like, all right, we won. They come on the radio and it's like, you won. I was like, perfect, and it felt good to get that win. Adam's multiple time world finals champion, has been doing this a long time. And somebody I look up to is a real good friend of mine. And to beat him, you're doing something. He's a great racer, great at everything that he does inside the truck most of the time. So second round, it was crazy, beat him. And then I'm just like, all right, here we go. I think I had Corey Rummel. Corey Rummel was fast. You can't never count him out. But I got payback on Corey that was my payback for Corey, was for the Double Down Showdown in Las Vegas. When I was in that, I red lighted on the line and he won. So, but got the win over him. Tyler, I raced Tyler. He broke, which is unfortunate because that was a good race too. And he ended up breaking. And then I'm like, I'm radioing to Blinky, like, the truck's running hot. It's doing this. It'll barely start. It's kind of chaos. They're rushing me back into the stadium to go again because, like you said, everybody's watching the rain. They know the rain's coming. So we're moving as quickly and safely as we can to go. And I'm like, man, I needed time to cool down. There's like no time. So luckily my truck fired up and went, and we head out. And I'm like, am I done yet? You know what I mean? I've been waiting on the finals. Like, what are we? How many times do I got to race? You know what I mean? And I get out there and I see Ryan. They're like, you're in the finals. I'm like, all right, it's me and Ryan in the finals. Perfect. Come out, go to the plates, the starting lines, get ready to line up, and then the bottom falls out. And all I can think about is, please, please go green, go green. I'm in the zone. I'm ready to go. Do not postpone racing. And that's all I'm saying to myself in my head. And the track official comes down, literally runs down the stairs like this, hiding from the rain, and points me to the lights. And I was like, all right, here we go. We're going green. And took off. Could barely see. Slick, muddy, raining. And I knew it was going to be a race. I knew Ryan was going all out. I was going all out. And as I came around and came through the under part of the track, I could see I was ahead of Ryan. Like, it was by a little bit, but I could tell where I was all night long by who came through that under part first. I was like, all right, I got a little bit on him. And then had come over the jump, and I didn't realize he had clipped the wall. So I was coming over the jump, and when I came over the jump, the truck kind of slid in the air and it jumped a little bit crooked. So when I landed, it spun me out the wrong way. And I was just like, I was watching like all this just disappear. You know what I mean? I was like beside myself. Couldn't believe the truck was spinning out, or I made the mistake, or whatever. You know what I mean? I've been perfect pretty much all night jumping this jump and in the rain and what have you. But I came down, I was sliding towards the wall, and was like, only thing I can think of at that moment is like, they're going to shut me off. I'm getting ready to hit the wall, and I'm not going to be able to finish. You know what I mean? So I threw it in reverse, cut the wheels, and when I was spinning around, I seen Ryan had slid up against the wall, had a blowed tire. And when I spun around, I was facing the race lane. I was like, first gear, hit second gear, and I didn't even have second gear. So had first gear, jumped the jump, and became a world champion on probably the most historic Monster Jam World's Finals racing finish ever. And in the rain in Orlando, family there, his old crew chief, and man, the memories that I'll have from this race, from Orlando, will last a lifetime, and hopefully my kids will be able to tell the stories too. So it was crazy. It was something I could never imagine. I would never. If you asked me Wednesday or possibly Thursday if I would have been a racing World Finals champion, I didn't have the track down. You know what I mean? I didn't understand it, but I watched videos. I asked a couple people, how are they doing this? Seeing how people were leaving the line, and I just kind of studied it a little bit and figured it out, and it paid off for me. And it was epic.
Now, you mentioned that you thought you were going to get shut off, which
Yes.
you did not know. Ryan Anderson did get shut off. He shredded his tire. My question for you, Jayme, is on any other scenario on a different track where the weather is not a factor, does he get an opportunity to continue to try to cross the finish line on three wheels, or was it just, situation, weather, track, we can't take the risk?
Yeah, I think all of the above. It's a tough place to be in with operating an RI. It's just the most incredible stressful thing, and ideally we're always looking out for the safety, both of the fans
Sure.
and of the drivers themselves. So we're going to look back at all these racing finishes over the years, and that racing finals is just going to be one of the most iconic. Eventually I'll get a poster put up on my wall about that thing. That it'll go down in my memories of when I tell Monster Jam stories. That'll be one of them by far.
Well, our World Finals episodes are coming up on CNBC, and I don't know if you've actually had a chance to watch the Instagram clip, but Brandon, I don't know if you've seen it, but Colt and I, we completely forgot we were being paid to call the race. We became kids watching the show. It was unbelievable, and I hope you guys can watch that, because the pure excitement and jubilation was not of an analyst, a color commentator, and a play-by-play announcer. It was two kids calling this race and watching this race, and I will stand by that race was the greatest one I have seen in World Finals history.
That's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like you guys were saying, how you became kids watching this event go down, and that's what Monster Jam is about doing something different every time and unexpected, and things happening, and drawing that attention in. And that's what it's about. That's we're out there going 100%, and like you hit the nail on the head with that. Turning you into a fan while you're doing your job, man. That's what it's about. And there was a lot of other people that felt that way, that was watching in the stand. So to all the fans that are watching this and we're at World Finals and stuck it out in the rain, kudos to you guys, man. That's awesome. And like you said, man, best race in Monster Jam World Finals history, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Let's get to some fan questions. So I posted on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter for some fan questions for Jayme and Brandon. And out of the gate, we have Wayne Avengers Racing for Jayme. What was the feeling for you and your fellow friends and employees, the first event back in 2020 and working for the first full season back in 2021? So before World Finals, when we came back to Arlington after the pandemic, and then getting that Stadium Championship Series going, how did you feel about that?
I think I posted more that week. I follow on social, but I don't post a lot. But I think I was more active that weekend than I've ever been, because I was so emotional about Arlington and getting back to Monster Jam. The second we opened the doors to let live human beings back in Monster Jam was absolutely epic and iconic, and similar to the racing, at World Finals, I will never ever forget the feeling and emotion that all of our staff had, all of our drivers had, all those fans had rushing through those doors. It was absolutely iconic, and man, I'll never forget it. And I speak for every staff member, thank you to the fans for, trusting in us and, and busting down those doors and coming in and sticking with us through the pandemic. Cause it was tough, man. It was tough on all the staff and tough on all the drivers, and as well, that it's, it was tough on all the fans too. So, thank you guys for trusting us and coming back out.
It was emotional. I was there. I hosted the desk. It was emotional for me to even get through it, to be back and see all the fans there. So it was a lot of emotions running through that weekend. Brandon, I have a question. This is a tough one for you, man. It comes from at Edward John Hyden. He wants to know, he wants you to name your top 5 toughest drivers that you've ever raced against.
Ryan Anderson, Adam Anderson, Tristan England, he's tough. Tyler Meninga. And what's that, 4? Let me get one more. Randy Brown. I got to race Randy Brown.
Downtown Randy Brown. I got to race Randy Brown in Vancouver this year, and we're 1 for 1. He beat me the first go around and talked so much trash to me. I could not let him win again. So Randy Brown was tough. He'll turn one on and surprise you when he'll act like he's not going to race you hard or do this or do that, and then all of a sudden he blows by you. But we're 1 for 1 on that matchup for sure. Brandon, I'm excited for you for next season. Looking forward to seeing and finding out where you get to defend your racing championship. That, of course, will happen on the scheduled announcement show, man. So thanks for being here, Jayme. Thank you so much for being a guest, man. It's good to see you, and hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, anytime. I love answering a lot of the questions that are out there. I definitely want to be able to answer those questions for the fans. I know it's hard being a fan out there and not knowing what's going on. So I'm here for you, whenever you want me back on.
For Jayme Dalsing, for Brandon Vinson, I'm Scott Jordan. This has been Inside Monster Jam. I will see you next time with another exciting episode. See ya.